What's going on, guys? It's your boy Trolltech here. So today we are finally getting in to the next episode of Two Kids Room. I've been especially excited for this one because first of all, it's my boy Bang Chan and also Han. This is like a dynamic and duo that I've really wanted to kind of delve into. So I'm very excited to get into this. But yeah, without further ado, let's get in. Okay. Before we get into it though, I want to give my impression. Sorry, I got something in my lips. I want to give my impression of like how I view Han and Chan's dynamic currently. The current vibe I have is Han and Chan seem like, I'm sure they're closer than other members just because they're part of 3 Racha, right? They're part of the producing team together. So obviously they spend a lot of time together. Though I feel like Chan, out of like, based on what I've seen, he seems to have the most like, thing relationship with Han. How do I say it? It's like the most big brother, little brother relationship, you know, because with guys like, you know, Changbin and Lino and, you know, those guys, their relationship, like Chan's relationship with them is more like equal, if that makes sense, in a way, where it's like talking to his peers, right? But when he's with like Han, for example, he takes much more of like a more, I don't want to say paternal, but much more like he's the elder kind of role in their dynamics. Like he's like that with the other ones, but with Han specifically, he has that. But then there's also the thing of like, he views Han as, you know, someone that he can also depend on. That's the vibe I'm getting. Which I don't get that same vibe with other members, if that makes sense. Like, not to say that Chan doesn't depend on the younger members. That's not my point. My point is like, he seems to depend on Han in a way he doesn't and like even with Changbin, I feel like he depends on Han and Changbin in a way he doesn't with anyone else. It's just a certain type of dependability they have as, you know, members of 3 Racha. That's the vibe I'm getting. So I'm interested to kind of delve more into that. But yeah, let's get started. Okay, here we go. This is so exciting.
그럼 나랑 한이는 이제 우리 얼마 동안 알았지? 제가 2015년에 연습생으로 들어왔으니까 이제 7년 알았네.
7 years, okay.
Oh my gosh. 거의 이제
So
3년
these guys, these two have known, because I did read, I can't remember if it was in the Patreon comments or the YouTube comments, but I read that Han was the first member of Stray Kids, or like the first person Bang Chan recruited, right? So that's interesting to me, where it's almost like, even though he's not a senior of the group, but he is, in a way. Like, in a way, Han is like in the context of how Bang Chan recruited them, he's like the upperclassman, I guess, of the group. Like, he's been there longer, but then you've got like Changbin and Lino being older than him, so obviously there's a thing there. So I wonder how they kind of contextualize that, you know, like Han, for example, he's been with Chan since day one, essentially. And then, like, but he's not like among the oldest of the group. So it's almost like, yeah, it's this weird thing, right? Where, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to explain it. Not to say that like Lino and Changbin have more power than him or anything. I don't think that's what being older means in the context of this. It's just like a respect thing. It's just interesting, right? Where usually, I think generally in like more Western cultures, it wouldn't be based on your age, like the kind of respect or whatever. It would be based on when you join the group. You know, so if this was a Western band, I would say like most likely Han would have been in Lino's position, if that makes sense. Like, I think it's just an interesting difference in cultures, right? Which I find fascinating. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with anything, but I was just, it was just interesting.
되는 스타일이고 마지막까지 기다렸다가 벼락치기
Me and Han are brothers, mate. Please don't even get me started on this. I actually tell you a story, a little story. So yesterday I had an assignment due today, right? And it was like a couple thousand word essay, whatever it was. And I left it to the last possible fucking minute. I don't know how I finished it. I ended up finishing it, but like, that's me fully. I do not do anything until the last possible second that I'm going to do that thing. So I feel it. I feel like the thing is, I want to be like Chan, right? I'm playing this thing. I'm going to do this thing. And then it is what it is, right? And I try to plan it, but then all it ends up happening, I write it down. I'm like, I'm going to do this then, and now do a bit here and a bit here. But what I end up doing is like, oh shit, I've got 3 hours. I've got to hand this in. Let's get started.
또 그런가 보다 해서 최대한 거리를 두겠지만 가끔씩 뭐 이렇게 툭 치거나 약간 이럴 때 뭔가 한이도 그치 나를 확실히 잘 알긴 하구나 약간 이럴 때 있는 것 같기도 하고.
So I want to actually talk a bit about that. So this kind of goes back to what I was saying before. Han was the first to join Bang Chan, right? I think that's where it comes from. Like, I feel like Bang Chan generally is a guy that doesn't accept help, right? He's one of those guys, very selfless and almost to a fault, you know? You know, he's so selfless that sometimes it can come to his detriment. I feel like Han is in one of those positions where it's like, he has the confidence to be like, look, man, you're doing too much, or you need to ease up, or whatever. But then also, Bang Chan, I feel like when it comes to Han, would be the only one where he would actively listen to what he's saying, because as a result of obviously their history, and as a result of like them both being part of Three Racha, just like a multitude of things, which I find interesting.
누가 말 한 번 잘못하잖아. 상처를 입게 해. 그러면 한 명이 이제 한 명이 꿍이 있는 거야 이제. 반격을 안 하지.
Oh, so they don't confront each other. Interesting.
보이거든.
You can get that vibe from their personalities, like Han and Chan. Just one sec. Like, Chan is very smiley and he's positive all the time. So I could see when he gets angry, he doesn't want to burden people with his anger. He seems to be that kind of guy. Han, on the other hand, is very much cheerful, sunshine child thing, right? So he tries maybe not to show his anger if he gets angry about something or annoyed about something or whatever. So I think they have similar personalities in that way. You know, what I call it is, actually, I think Stray Kids, they're split into two sections. One section is the school of Bang Chan, and then one section is the school of Lino, right? I think generally, the way they respond as people and as artists, I think is very much influenced by the two eldest, in a way, where the way certain members respond to tense situations and whatever situations is a very Bang Chan version of it, where he's like, he tries to hide his anger, or he tries to endure the thing and just deal with it, which I can see, like, Han's like that. I think to a certain extent, like, Ian's like that. You know, some members are like that. And then you got the Lino, where he's very much, if he's pissed off, he's going to show that he's pissed off, right? And then I think people like Sungmin and Changbin and those kind of guys are like that, in what I've seen. It's just interesting, like how the elders influence how the youngers respond to certain situations.
이제 전부 10개 다 하면 약간 그거 비춘 게 손톱이 다 깨져요. 깨지구나. 다시 회복은
I feel like that's the most, like, that's the type of like damage on the body that I feel like just, you know, it makes me cringe the most, like nails breaking and that type of shit. Because I remember one time this nail fully came off. I've never felt pain like this in my fucking life. It hurts so much. Like, it fully just fucking snapped off. But yeah, that's the one like body pain I just can't deal with. Because I've broken so many bones in my body. I've injured so many. I've broken my nose. I've broken a couple of my fingers. I've fractured my shoulder. I fractured my fucking waist. So like, I have had so many injuries. Nail injuries are the worst.
한이는 근데 쉽게 흥미를 흥미를 가지다가도 금방 질려하는 스타일이야.
Yeah, I'm like that as well.
되게 안타까워하고
I can get like
또
that.
찾아주려고 그러고 막 그런 게 있어. 너는 그런 거 신경 안 써? 형들이 뭐 하는 거 신경
He does seem to have that personality though. Han seems to be like that where he would, I feel like if he gets interested in something, he'll be obsessed with it for like 2 weeks and then he'll just move on. That's the vibe I get. But then Bang Chan's personality gives me the vibe of like when he gets into something, I could see him just like obsess about that thing for a long time or, you know, continuously go back to that thing. That's just the personality vibes I get from them.
한이 진짜 해 뜰 때까지 게임한 적이 있어요. 한이는 진짜 약간
Yeah, like for example, games. Like,
이미지가 아니잖아요. 저는
see, I wouldn't call myself a gamer 24/7. I love playing games, don't get me wrong. There'll be a new game out or new game that I'm interested in playing, and I'll be obsessed with that game for 2 weeks straight. And then I won't play games for like a month, and then I'll play games for again for 3 weeks straight. And I won't play games for like 2 months, and then I'll play games for like a month straight. Like that's how I play games. So I wouldn't call myself a gamer. People that are gamers, it's like they're always playing video games, you know? But yeah, I get obsessed. If I get obsessed, I get obsessed. Like I remember when Red Dead 2 came out, I didn't have a shower for 3 days. And I just smashed through that game. Like I didn't sleep, didn't have a shower. Like I was literally, I think, not 3 days, but like 48 hours I did not sleep. I was just so obsessed.
난 그때 진짜 너무 신기하고 너무 좋았어.
옛날에 그런 적이
You know,
있으니까 제가
Bagche gives me, you know what vibes he gives me? You know when you like, your dad walks in and he's like, "Are you winning, son?" Like that's the vibes that Bang Chan gives me at all times. I've just realized that's what I was trying to think, like what does he remind me of?
게임을 안 하잖아요. 롤 게임을 안 하잖아요.
I don't like League of Legends either. I try to play it.
가지고 롤 챔피언들을 다 외웠어요.
맞아,
롤
맞아,
챔피언들 다
맞아.
외우고 그리고 그에 대한 얘기까지 다 알아.
Oh no, I do that shit as well.
그래서 그때부터
Nah, I do that as well, bro.
그래서 너 티어 몇이야? 나 게임 안 하는데 왜 알아? 이러니까
왜 알아?
몰라.
Yeah, like I will know everything about a game, and I haven't played it at all. Like League of Legends is a perfect example where I know most of like what's going on in the game. I just don't want to play it, you know? Or Overwatch, for example. Like I was obsessed with Overwatch for a bit, but like for like a week or so, but then I got over it and I don't really play it. But I know everything you could possibly know about the game, the story and all that shit. Like, yeah, I'm like that. That's bro, me and Han are spirit brothers. That's what we are, bro.
키 색깔의 약간 자켓 데님 자켓 모르겠어. 어쨌든 뭐
맞다
있었어.
맞다 그때 형 거 입고 왔다 우리 형 거.
모자 썼던 거.
모자 비니.
그래서 그게 너무 이미지 확.
Okay, so he's a younger sibling. Han, like in general. Okay, that's why. That's why he is how he is. I was like, me and Han have too many similarities. I'm like, why? Why is this? Like personality wise and like just how random he is and just like certain traits. I'm like, there's something similar. There's something familiar about him. It's because he's a younger sibling, right? Like he's actually a younger sibling, like in real life. That's why. I bet you anything he's the youngest as well. If he has like multiple siblings, he's probably the youngest, just based on how he is, right? Because I'm the youngest.
선배님들 그렇게 보듯이 약간 제가 한이를 그렇게 보는 느낌이랄까? 약간 한이가 뭔가 되게 멋있어지고 점점.
I love how willing Bang Chan is to just be open. Like I feel like generally, this is what I've noticed. The other guys, they're open and they're open to giving compliments and stuff like that. But I've found that Bang Chan genuinely, it's like giving people compliments. He's so comfortable doing it. You know what I mean? Because like even Hyunjin and Felix and like they give compliments and stuff, but they seem like they're not forcing themselves, but they are actively they're attempting to show how much they're impressed with the others. You know what I mean? Like they're actively saying, I'm going to compliment this person. I'm going to tell them what I think is really cool about them. But Bang Chan's like compliments are so natural where it's just like, that's the natural response to how he behaves around the members is just him complimenting them. Because to him, it's just like, it's the most natural thing, which I find interesting. But then on the other hand, I've noticed that when people compliment him, he has no idea how to react.
어떻게 불렀더라? 가이드 한번 듣고 갈게. 가이드. 그 음이 이게 막 찬이 형 이거 맞죠? 지가 카메라 써놓고
지가 써놓고 지가 모를 때 있어.
약간 천재라서 얘가.
뭐 진짜 빨리.
I find that interesting actually when you think about it. Han, I was talking about it that he has even in the Stray Kids like survival show in the first episode, like you can see he has that like just pure talent within him, right? Which I think works against him in a way in that he doesn't understand the mechanics of his talent maybe sometimes, which is pretty common. But then you got someone like Bang Chan, which I respect, he's worked for everything. Like everything that he has now, it's like not to say Han hasn't worked hard. That's not what I'm saying. He fully has probably worked equally as hard. But objectively, if you look at someone like Bang Chan, who maybe wasn't the most genius or talented guy, but who worked really hard and understands what works and what doesn't work, exactly why they work and why they don't work, I think makes them such a strong like duo together, if that makes sense.
진한 한이 좀 피곤해. 이렇거나 이런 상황이 있거나
딱 film 보면 딱 그 느낌이야.
이런 상황이 있거나 아니면 한이 혼자 여기야. 나랑 찬이 형은 이런.
It's interesting that Bang Chan and Changbin are more on the same wavelength often than Han is, which I think again comes from the way their talents work, right? Changbin and Chan's talents seem to be much more in understanding the like processes of making music, in that where Han is like he's just a pure genius, fucking born to be a performer. That, you know, he loves the adrenaline of it and the excitement of it, and I think it's interesting that, you know, they're never really on that same wavelength, you know, but I think it's a good thing because you want different perspectives, especially in a tight-knit team like Three Racha, where they're, you know, producing most of their music and writing most of the lyrics for Stray Kids and stuff like that. It's just interesting.
그 마무리를 잘 못 짓거든요. 마무리를 잘 못 짓는데 이제 찬이 형이 이제 뭐 트랙이든.
That's what I'm talking about when I say Bang Chan is like understands what music is. Like, you know what I mean? Like he understands the process, every element of it, which allows him to be the way he is. Where even if we look at him objectively, if we look at him at two performers as Han and Chan, I think objectively Han is the better performer. Like just objectively, like I would say he's most of the time he's the better rapper. I think his stage presence is more, it shines more. But on the other hand, if we're looking at purely as a producer, I think Chan is so fucking talented. Like I think he's like on his own level. Obviously, I don't want to talk too much because I haven't seen too much of like them in that habitat of being producers. But generally, the vibe I get is that Chan, as someone who looks at music as a whole, I think he fully understands what needs to happen in a song, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's just my opinion.
한장 찍고 끝낼래요?
오케이, 제가 할게요.
That one went so fast because like I love their dynamic.
마지막. 하나.
Because they're interesting, right? It's like they're the same person, but they're so different at the same time. These two,
둘다 뭔가
like personality-wise.
컸다.
But I think generally, as like musicians and as like guys, as you know, co-workers, if you want to call them, like from that perspective, I think they're very similar in the way they approach things. But then personality-wise, they're very different as well. But they're both the same in a way as well. Like both of them are very like happy and smiley and stuff, but just in different ways, you know, which I find interesting.
투키즈룸 방찬 한.
Like I would say, you know what I've noticed in this clip? If Chan wasn't the oldest and wasn't the leader, I think he would have been like the Han in the group. Like he would have been the little brother that like just pissed everyone off for no reason, like just, you know, stirred shit. Like he would have been that guy if he wasn't the leader. Like I think that personality wise, they're very similar. But yeah, this was fun. I like these two kids rooms are so good. I think they provide such an insight into these guys. and it's really fun. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to, well, like the video, I guess. Well, it's on Patreon, but this will go on YouTube in like a week. But yes, that's what's happening. Yeah. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe. If you're watching this on Patreon, thanks you for being a patron, as always. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Goodbye.